So what have you learned about how to deal with the police?
I know if you get pulled over, before the cop comes, have your license out and have your hand on the wheel. Do not make any sudden actions. When you see an officer, try not to make eye contact or anything. Just keep your head down, keep on walking, and make sure that you are not like rude or say anything disrespectful because that can get you shot.
If we have more police interacting with people, having them on the streets, we can prevent crimes. We can prevent petty crimes from turning into something worse.
Yeah, we're allowed to pat you down for weapons. Mama, they pat me down.
They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel.
Nia, what is the talk?
The talk is any conversation that a Black parent has with a young person in their life about how to stay safe once they leave the home. Usually it means what to do if you're interacting with law enforcement, with police, what to do so that you don't get hurt, you don't get killed.
So one of the common complaints that I get is about the interaction with police officers that they have with young people. They don't know how to relate to them. So what they use is a form of harassment.
Especially if you live in an urban area, if you grow up in the projects like I did, or New York City housing, you think like people being stopped by the police is something that is making the community safe, and it's normal.
They stop, question, and frisk individuals. You'll see a lot of officers just throw up different young people on the wall, stop them in their car driving while Black.
This is not a normal way of life. This is unusual, and we as a community should not be used to and not take it as a way of life when we're stopped by the police.
Why is the talk important?
I wanted you to make sure you have all of the information in front of you so when the situation does arise, you're not caught off guard, you know exactly what to expect, and you know what the consequences are, you know? I think a lot of times kids get shot because they don't expect someone to completely not see their humanity.
I remember we went over a scenario when he was like, if you get stopped in the car, how to put your hands on the dashboard, and if you're in the back, you put your hands on the seat. And how you always ask the officer prior to you reaching for something, could you go to that location? So if you say, show me your ID, you told me like, say, excuse me, officer, my wallet is in my pocket. If you don't mind, could I take it out of my pocket? Prior to you doing anything. And you always stated that like common sense is not always common. So what we established to be like the common way to go about addressing the officer, it's not always what other people will react to.
We tend to underestimate how young people, or how much young people know. And so they know what's going on out in the world. And then, you know, wanting to do something about that and then feeling like maybe they have to reel it in some way, somehow, can cause a lot of conflict, like internal conflict.
When a police officer stops you and you're driving in your car or you're walking down the block, it is normal for a person to say, why are you stopping me? That is not being disrespectful, that is not being discourteous, that is being informative. However, when police hear that, they don't hear it as a question. It is my belief that they hear it as a challenge, as a thump against their authority.
We can have conversations about, you know, being proud and empowered, and then on the other hand having this conversation around, but hold that back just a little bit, right? So it can be a little confusing at times, I think.
How do you feel you're perceived by the police as a young Black man?
Honestly, it depends on like what I'm wearing at the current situation, which is kind of ridiculous because like if I'm going out to with my friends, I don't really leave the house unless I have a book bag. So like they know I'm a student, they know I'm at least trying to get my education.
They look at us as predators, as a group, as a whole. And it doesn't matter what we're wearing. I can have on a sweatsuit and a hoodie, or I can have on a suit and tie. We're all treated the same way.
He's not supposed to.
Growing up in America and growing up in New York City, you usually tell your children, you send them to school, and you just would pray for them and send them along their way. Now you have to be able to have a conversation not just about the birds and the bees, about the police, because you never know.
Where I'm raised, where we from, a badge don't necessarily like gain you respect because we understand that you're still a person. And I think in order for a cop to be able to effectively patrol a community, he has to first establish a relationship with those in the community.
Police are there to serve our community. We want our communities to be safe. And if there's a fair exchange in communication, then we're all for it. What usually happens is that there is not a fair exchange of communication. The communication is one way, often abusive, discourteous, and that puts us in a position that we need to be aware of that we're treated differently in our own community, and we're definitely going to be treated differently in others' communities.
What have you learned about how you should deal with the police?
I don't interact with the police. I've been robbed. I didn't call the police. I just don't. I just don't think that the consequences of what could happen is worth it for me.
Before you would count on a police officer as a friend, but now they are looked at as an enemy.
We need to provide our children, our loved ones, with information so that they can understand that policing in our community is strained. So it would be a mistake to have our loved ones leave our home and not be prepared for it.